Welcome to Difficult Women, the show for anyone who's ever been called too much and decided to turn it all the way up. I'm Courtney, feminist fire starter, Silicon Valley escapee, and your host for this unapologetic deep dive into the rage, clarity, and truth we're not supposed to say out loud. Around here, we don't shrink, we don't perform, we don't ask permission. Let's get into it. If one more HR exec or political pundit says people need to show up more authentically, I might scream and put my head through a wall, because this is the talking point I see everywhere right now. Authenticity is everywhere. It's in corporate keynotes, all over LinkedIn posts, political talking points. But can we just talk about who actually gets to be authentic without consequences? Because authenticity is not a virtue. It's not something we should just be blanketly telling people they need to do or be. Authenticity, being able to be authentic, is a privilege. And the system is still deciding who's allowed to be real without losing everything. So, think about progressive corporate companies, especially in HR tech, right? This is my history. I've worked for brands like Indeed and LinkedIn and Handshake, where I believed in the mission. I thought I was getting to live those things. Young, naive, sweet Courtney didn't realize that on revenue teams, none of that matters, right? But they love to bring that whole bring your whole self to work line. And you don't always realize that it's just PR, because the reality is it's only safe to bring your whole self to work if your identity doesn't challenge power. So be authentic really means perform relatability in a way that keeps existing leader structures comfortable. Existing power structures don't like to feel threatened. So I see this everywhere in my work. I have been hired as a change agent. I've been hired for being different. I've been hired for having a different approach to things. And then the minute I bring that challenge to that leadership, when they become part of what I'm challenging, there's resistance, there's emotion, and I'm the one labeled emotional, but the way that emotion manifests with men and women is just different. And so, I'm called a lot of words that a man in my position wouldn't be. And so, we're out here polishing our emails so that we don't sound aggressive, while men in positions of power in public office can scream lies at employees, at reporters, and still get booked on morning shows. My point is not to make this a political conversation, but the double standard is staggering. And the pundits that keep criticizing the Democrats and saying, oh, they need to be more authentic. That's one of the things that Trump gets right, is he's really authentic. You're propping up people whose authenticity is just like white male rage in a cheap suit. Women, queer folks, neurodivergent people, Black and brown folks all get punished for showing any raw emotion. Passion for them becomes pathology. And authenticity is only celebrated when it looks like the people already in charge. Everyone else has to make it palatable, because those gentle snowflake baby men at the top are very emotional, and their emotions come out as violence often towards the rest of us. And I know this personally as a late diagnosed neurodivergent woman. Masking isn't fake. So when we are not being fully authentic, when we are masking, when we are showing up in different ways, it's survival, right? And especially for women in a lot of settings, directness is interpreted as rudeness. Urgency is too intense. And the people who want to claim authenticity are often the most threatened by what it actually sounds like from someone like me. So, if you look at data from firms like McKinsey, women are penalized for their assertiveness, especially women of color. Harvard Business Review has data that backs up that neurodivergent folks are more likely to mask, leading to burnout. Catalyst backs up the fact that Black women experience the highest pressure to code switch, right? They get labeled angry, emotional, way more than white women. And the reality is the system is not rewarding real authenticity. It's rewarding familiarity. And white, male, emotionally fucking chaotic is still the default setting for relatable leadership. So the truth for a lot of us is that showing up as yourself can get you fired, and staying masked makes you sick. And meanwhile, the same behaviors get white men praised for being real, being authentic, saying it like it is, even if it's not PC. But we're living in a country where the most dangerous men alive can scream, lie, and rage with apparently zero consequences, while the rest of us are coached to smile more and soften our feedback. But women over 40 are actually the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the US right now. That to me is exciting. And when you think about the reason why, it's because we're done. We're not leaving corporate because we can't lead or we can't balance everything. We're leaving because we refuse to keep contorting ourselves into something the system might decide to tolerate. So what I'm doing with my work, helping especially late diagnosed neurodivergent women figure out their brand, figure out their personal approach to their business, I am not trying to help them show up more or jam them into a system. No. The whole idea is we need to be able to stop performing and start aligning and figure out ways to do that where we can be safe. And for a lot of women in corporate, that's never going to happen. That's why we see this exodus. And so at the end of the day, as I'm finding my voice and building my own personal brand, it has nothing to do with approval. I'm trying to build a platform that can carry me and that is big enough for me in a way that feels good. And that's a hard thing to do, but I think it's a worthy cause. And I have enough privilege that it's a journey I can go on right now and hopefully share some of the lessons with anybody else who might find them helpful. So I'd love to hear from any of you, like what you are still performing under the label of authenticity and what it might look like to stop making yourself digestible if it were safe. And this is a reminder, you're not too much. You're not unstable. You're just done pretending. Thank you for joining me on Difficult Women. Let's get out there and cause some trouble.